all you need to know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business.
Good morning and thanks for listening in. This is the daily morning update from Bloomberg Quint and I'm Alex Matthew. Today's the 11th of June. The big news from overnight is the word that came from the US Federal Reserve. It pledged to maintain asset purchases at least the current pace and projected interest rates will remain near zero through 2022 as policymakers seek to support the economy's recovery from the coronavirus recession. A related statement from the New York Fed specified that the pace of the balance sheet increase would be maintained at about $80 billion a month for purchases of treasuries and about $40 billion for mortgage-backed securities. In a press conference that followed the release of the statement by the Federal Open Market Committee, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said they were not even thinking about raising rates. In news back home, the RBI released data on household savings. The net financial assets of Indian households saw an uptick in 2019-20 after witnessing a decline in the previous year, according to that data. After moderating in 2018-19, which indicated higher spending on consumption, the savings rose and reached levels seen in 2017-18. That's around 7.7% of GDP. S&P Global Ratings retained India's sovereign rating as it expects the nation to outperform its global peers despite a blip this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. The Global Ratings Agency affirmed India's long-term sovereign rating at BBB- and short-term foreign and local currency credit ratings at A3, according to a statement released yesterday. The outlook on the long-term rating remains stable. The Enforcement Directorate has brought back to India more than 2,300 kgs of polished diamonds and pearls worth 1,350 crore rupees from firms in Hong Kong belonging to Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi, according to officials who said this yesterday. Out of the 108 consignments that landed in Mumbai, 32 belonged to overseas entities controlled by Nirav Modi, while the rest are Mehul Choksi's firms. In a relief to home buyers that bought houses in stalled Amrapali Group projects, the Supreme Court yesterday asked banks and other lenders to disperse the remaining loan amounts to buyers even if these accounts had turned bad. This latest order comes after the Supreme Court last year ordered state-run National Building Construction Corporation to take over the stalled projects. State Bank of India is seeking applications to appoint a new Chief Financial Officer on contract. The appointee will receive an annual remuneration of 75 lakh rupees to 1 crore rupees for a 3-year contract, according to an advertisement released by State Bank of India on Tuesday. The compensation is higher than the senior management of the bank currently receives. In fact, according to SBI's annual report for last financial year, Chairman Rajneesh Kumar received an annual salary of 29.5 lakh rupees and he holds 500 shares of the bank. In global news, the World Health Organization said a persistent increase in coronavirus cases in Latin America is of deep concern. Health services in the region are coming under strain, and there's no evidence that shows whether the arrival of winter in the southern hemisphere will increase the spread or not. Back home too, the number of coronavirus cases keeps rising at a rapid pace. Yesterday, the total number reached close to 2.8 lakh, even as restrictions continue to be rolled back. In international markets, US equities declined in a choppy session as investors digested the statement from the Federal Reserve and assessed the likely long-term nature of the recovery ahead. And equities in the Asia-Pacific region, taking cues from their US peers, have started the session in the red. And with that, it's over to Agam Vakil for the trade setup for the day in India. Good morning, Agam. How are we looking this Thursday?
Good morning, Alex, and good morning, listeners. Well, Asia has opened with some weakness, and the SGX Nifty futures is indicating a muted opening for Indian markets as well this morning. Right at the top, a heads up. The Supreme Court will hear the matter of telecom sector's adjusted gross revenue dues today, and Vodafone Idea and Bharti Airtel will be in focus. Moving on to earnings, we have Shriram Transport Finance, where its net interest income rose 1% year-on-year at a little over 1,930 crores, and its net profit declined 70%. Of course, a lot of disruption on account of COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the company says the disbursements remain badly affected as RTO offices as well as dealers were non-functional up to June 7th. In most parts of the country. The repayment schedule of term loans as well as a residual tenor of the term loans have been shifted across the board by another 3 months after the moratorium period. Moving on, we have Indian hotels where revenues declined 14.6% year-on-year at 1,063 crores and net profit declined 35% year-on-year. In terms of earnings today, we're keeping an eye on Westlife Development, specifically how McDonald's has done, and Dixon Technologies. In key belt deals, we have veteran investor Vijay Kedia acquire 1.1% equity in the Ramco Systems at 87.8 rupees per share, and Jasmine Capital Investments acquired 3.3% stake in RBL Bank at 150.5 rupees per share. Finally, we have NTPC, which has approved the deferment of capacity charges of 2,064 crores to DISCOMs to be payable without interest after the end of the lockdown period in 3 equal monthly installments. The board also approved rebate of 1,363 crores on the capacity charges billed during the lockdown period to DISCOMs on account of COVID-19 in financial year 2021. Now, these are just some of the stocks we can watch out for as we move into trade today, but don't forget to go through our morning edition of All You Need to Know only on BloombergQuint.com.
Thanks, Agam. And as always, thank you all for listening in. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you can listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Paisa Vaisa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma, or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.